I'd like to show you how I process a news event or something that floats by in my info torrent that seems really interesting and useful, and how I curate that into my brain, because I do this all the time. I've been doing this for 28 and a half years, and it's a little hard to explain. And luckily, it's a very visual thing. So if we turn to my brain, I can talk through a news item that showed up in the last couple days. Now, I've known about Peter Baker, the New York Times reporter, for a long time. These are all articles that Peter Baker wrote. So Jimmy Carter opts for hospice care, JFK assassination witness breaks his silence, et cetera, et cetera. He's married to Susan Glasser, who is also a journalist, wrote for Politico, and here are some of her articles. But I had no idea that they had a son named Theo Baker. And so here's Theo, and I added him as a result of learning about this book that Theo just wrote as a result of being at Stanford University. And the book is titled How to Rule the World, An Education in Power at Stanford University. And I have not read the book, but I read some reviews of it, including this rave review by Anand Giridharadas. Now, Anand I've been following for a while. I just loved his talks to the Aspen Society about how philanthropy is a lifestyle business, and so on and so forth. I think he's done a terrific job of trying to expose what's happening. But he really, really loves this book about how to rule the world. And in his review, he mentions some of the things that come out of the book, like the Stanford that's inside Stanford. There's sort of an inner circle of the plucked who hang out at Kappa, maybe a different group that hangs out at the Kappa Cafe on campus. And then there's the NGMIs, the ones who are not going to make it. There's a whole bunch of things that come out of how to rule the world. And so I linked it naturally to articles about Stanford. Here's Stanford University. Here are many of the departments. They have a civic online reasoning department, civic, liberal, and global education, a freshman course that some people take. This is just stuff that's wound up in my brain about Stanford, created by Leland Stanford, who was a former U.S. Senator and the head of the Southern Pacific Railroad, one of the famous founders. His son, Leland Stanford Jr., et cetera, et cetera. So if I go back to the article, and by the way, I'm clicking at the bottom here. You'll notice this is like a breadcrumb trail. Every time I click on a new thought, it gets added to this list and scrolls off to the left. At the top of my screen is a pin board. So here are things that I actually leave up there for a while. So for example, here's the year 2026. Every year, as you'll see, here's 2025. These are all the things that happened in 2025 that were kind of noteworthy, that paint the year for me. This is all just my perspective on what's happening in the world. And you'll notice also there's a scroll bar down here. This is only not quite halfway through all the things that I noticed to remember for 2025. So here's the Texas representatives return, the redistricting bill passes, Sydney Sweeney's My Jeans Are Blue ad, the statement on superintelligence, the 2025 declaration, and so forth. So back to our regularly scheduled show. So How to Rule the World points up to Silicon Valley's bro culture. And I've got several different things about that, which is under articles about Silicon Valley. And actually, I'd like to connect articles about Silicon Valley also to how to rule the world. So I'm just going to do that. Now I've added articles about Silicon Valley. So it's not just under Stanford, now it's under Silicon Valley, and specifically their bro culture. And I then, just this morning before recording this, created a new thought because I realized I'd seen a couple articles but kind of missed what they were. So I created this new thought this morning: exorbitant packages for Gen AI talent. I have that under exorbitant executive compensation, which is a concern I've had for a long time. So here's income inequality in the United States. US executive comp has gone overboard. When did I put this in? 2013. So here's the date down here. In 2013, I put in the thought, US executive comp has gone overboard. And here are articles. Here's a New York Times article, overpaid or worth every penny. A Wall Street Journal article, money for nothing. Another journal article, it's good to be CEO again, stocks rise and so does pay. Also people, here's, by the way, when you see a thought that's in this purple color, that's an opinion. When you see a thought that's in yellow, that just means there's a collection of things here. Come look. Yellow is just to draw the eye. Purple is actually my opinion. So executives created insane comp packages with short-term stock payouts. Boards went along, which is one of the ways that we snipped bankers and investors' responsibility for long-term outcomes, which is one of the ways we snipped long-term relationships in finance, paving the way for the global financial crisis, all of which I posted online as this playlist of 3 videos that I titled Snip, where that my thesis is that we cut long-term relationships harming society. And that's just a little digression from how to rule the world, because exorbitant pay packages are what's happening on campus in Stanford. And it appears that if you don't get plucked in your freshman year and then maybe get lured to go start a startup, whatever the heck you want to do, they'll just drop money on your head. You might not be good enough to make the cut. You might not become one of the plucked, and then you just sort of play out your time at Stanford and graduate as a normal person. The whole thing is a really interesting dynamic. And I wanted to show you how I make sense of it in the broader scheme of things that already have life in my brain. So the little digressions that I took here are really, to me, everything is deeply intertwinkled. Now, if I click anywhere in the blue background of the brain, and then I just type in a couple characters. So I just typed in deeply and I got everything is deeply intertwinkled, which is a Goodreads quote. I just have a link to Goodreads here. If I click on this, it should take me to Ted Nelson quote, everything is deeply intertwinkled. So I use that as an anchor link for the quote. And this comes from Ted Nelson. It's about interpenetration. It comes from his book, Computer Lib Dream Machines, back from 1974. I've also connected it under my beliefs. So my beliefs that everything is deeply intertwinkled are played out in this piece of software called the brain, which I've been using for 28 years. With that, come back. I'll be doing more things like this.